Discretion is advised.
Many of you watching the debate last night might have been thinking to yourself, holy crap, my country's going down the toilet in a gigantic whirl of offal that bears an uncanny resemblance to one candidate who's a neurotic ignoramus and another who's the incarnation of evil. But let's look at it in a more positive light. Yes, it's true. Hillary Clinton came across as a robotic avatar of pure corruption, her predatory smile hiding a soulless emptiness that seeks nothing but its own profit, even at the expense of the nation that nurtured her in its bosom as a healthy organ nurses the cancer that will one day destroy it. And yes, it's likewise true that Donald Trump is so incredibly stupid that if he bumped into a wall in the Oval Office, he'd get stuck in the corner, even though the office is like an oval and there are no corners for him to get stuck in, but it would just be like his stupidity would make a corner out of it because his stupidity is just that enormous, and then he'd just keep bumping into the same corner again and again forever. And yes, we also have to admit that Hillary did remind us of a living pustule of infectious wickedness that seemed to have arisen like an unthinkable pimple on the nose of the George Washington face on Mount Rushmore, which then popped, releasing the pus of venality to drool down the face of our iconic president, thus symbolically transforming a nation that was once noble and beautiful into a horrific image of disease and putridity, such that everything it comes in contact with becomes little more than a reflection of its own gangrenous decadence. And okay, Trump is a third-rate bully boy without enough intelligence under his bizarre hair to allow him to find the capital of Wisconsin on a map that had the shape of Wisconsin outlined with the word Wisconsin on it and a big star in the middle with an arrow pointing at it next to the words, "This is Madison, the capital of Wisconsin." And yes, Hillary is a slavering demon from all the malodorous sewers of hell, flushed into the bloodstream of the country by the hand of a satanic fate that seems to mock us for our aspirations by setting before us a crone-like image of our own most reprehensible cravings for power and self-destruction. But the important thing is this. After watching the debate, I think all of us can come together as one, joined by the realization that we all live in a mighty republic dreamed up by the wisest political thinkers ever to have walked the earth and handed down to us Democrats and Republicans both so that we could transform it into a reality television cage match between the most wretchedly fetid hellion on the planet and a lumbering ogre of almost unimaginable ignorance. So don't despair. Oh, wait, no, despair. Despair a lot. And for a long time, then weep very loudly, then die in a torment of remorse and self-disgust. Otherwise, it was a great debate. Trigger warning, I'm Andrew Klavan, and this is The Andrew Klavan Show.
I feel hunky-dunky, life is tickety-boo. Birds are winging, also singing hunky-dunky-doo. Ship-shape, tipsy-topsy, the world is zippity-zing. It's a wonderful day, hurrah, hooray, it makes me want to sing. Oh, hurrah, hooray, oh, hooray, hurrah.
The greatest 30 seconds in podcasting. But when are we going to get some merch? Are we going to get some merchandise to sell with it? Yeah, we got to get some hurrah, hooray merchandise, no question. So we sent somebody out to discuss with the candidates last night how they did, and here's his report to them.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
All right, David Harsanyi posted out on the Federalist. He wrote a piece that went, on Monday night, America witnessed one of the most worthless and certainly one of the most infantile presidential debates in its history. After listening to Donald Trump's metafictions and Hillary Clinton's manicured obfuscations, the voter is left with one question: do you prefer an idiocracy or a kleptocracy? I thought that was very, very well put. All right, 2016 sucks, but you do get, we will tell you who won and lost the debate. We will and this is the show where the future comes to announce itself. Everything we've ever said has always turned out to be true in the long run. It is absolutely true. We will tell you who won and who lost. And though 2016 sucks, My book is out, which is the important thing. The Great Good Thing, A Secular Jew Comes to Faith in Christ. It's my memoir. I got a letter today. I mean, I've been getting a lot of these lately, but I got, just people saying, you've truly changed my outlook on my faith and overall perspective of life. That's, that's the kind of reaction I've been getting. You can get it for free if you would just subscribe to the website. They'll send you the book for free. Come on, it's a limited offer or whatever. Or just subscribe because you want to watch the show. And tomorrow is Mailbag Day. Woohoo, exactly my feelings precisely. And if you subscribe, you can send in some questions. I would love to hear your questions. And also, if you want to add some stuff you like, I always like to hear that. Sometimes I may not mention it on the show, but I actually may go back and try it. What else? You got 15 minutes on Facebook and YouTube to watch us. Then we cut you off like a wandering child who we no longer own. And you have to come to listen to the rest of it on the Daily Wire, or you can download it from iTunes or SoundCloud. But if you just would pay us your lousy $8 a month, you get 30 days for free. You get my book for free, and then $8 a month. And you can listen and watch the whole show live on the Daily Wire, right? Yeah. You can see the whole thing. Okay. All right. The debate. Now, here's the thing. If last night during the debate, somebody tweeted out, you can't trust Andrew Klavan now that he's endorsed Donald Trump. And I thought, endorse Donald Trump? Wow, if I had been there when that happened, I'd have been really angry with me, I must have missed that, because I haven't endorsed anybody. I have admitted that viscerally, in my heart of hearts, I'm kind of rooting for Trump, not because I like Trump, because I despise not only Hillary, but the entire structure of the media and the permanent government, the bureaucracy that supports her and that has spewed her out like a pustule from like an infected sore, I mean, she is just the absolute avatar and representative of that structure that I hate. So I'm kind of like I'm kind of like an aristocrat at the French Revolution, sort of cheering the mob that's eventually going to guillotine me, so I'm rooting for Trump, I must admit, but I don't endorse him. I know what he is. I thought last night, so if you're looking for cheerleading or somebody to tell you what you want to hear, wrong place, obviously, as always. But what I thought happened last night, we all saw the same debate. For 30 minutes, Trump was killing her. I mean, he was killing her. For half an hour, it was kind of a tussle between the two of them. And then for half an hour, she destroyed him. She killed him right back. On points, then, it was a tie. But I don't think it's going to work out as a tie. And I'll tell you that when I get to the end. I think that Trump was foiled by three things. He could have become president last night. He really could have. But he was foiled by three things: ignorance, ideology, and neurosis. One of those things he can fix. And if he can fix one of them, he can't fix it, but he can fix the effects of it. He can change the effects of it. If he can fix that one thing, he will kill her, because he showed that he could win in the first 20 minutes of the debate. He showed exactly what he had to do. He attacked. He was on the attack, but he attacked without being grotesque and petty. He was attacking her on real stuff. She started out talking about housing, I guess it was. It's cut number 4. Yeah.
Donald was one of the people who rooted for the housing crisis. He said back in 2006, gee, I hope it does collapse, because then I can go in and buy some and make some money. Well, it did collapse.
That's called business, by the way.
9 million people lost their jobs. 5 million people lost their homes, and $13 trillion in family wealth was wiped out.
Okay. Now, this is the ignorance. It was ignorance, ideology, and neurosis. Okay. This is where the ignorance comes in. If Trump knew anything, which he doesn't, he would have said, yeah, you guys caused that. It was Democrat policies that caused the housing crisis. I know that doesn't get covered, but anybody with a little bit of reading could find it out. It was written about in the New York Times. It was a former newspaper, I mean, it's not like they're trying to report on anything, but it was written about there. It's been written about again and again. The policy of forcing banks to give loans to people who couldn't pay them back is what started the housing crisis. He could have nailed her on there, but he didn't. But having said that, he did come back with a fairly good response. This is number 5.
And Hillary, I just ask you this. You've been doing this for 30 years. Why are you just thinking about these solutions right now? For 30 years you've been doing it, and now you're just starting to think of solutions.
Well, actually,
I will bring back jobs. You can't bring back jobs.
Well, actually, I have thought about this quite a bit.
Yeah, for 30 years.
I have, well, not quite that long. I think my husband did a pretty good job in the 1990s. I think a lot about what worked and how we can make it work again.
Well, he approved
3 million
NAFTA.
new jobs,
He approved
a balanced
NAFTA,
budget,
which is the single worst trade deal ever approved in this country.
Incomes went up for everybody. Manufacturing jobs went up also in the 1990s, if we're actually going to look at the facts. Well, when I was Secretary of State, we actually increased American exports globally 30%. We increased them to China 50%. So I know how to really work to get new jobs and to get exports that help to create more new jobs.
Well, you haven't done it in 30 years or 26 years.
Well,
any number you
I've
want to
been
do.
a senator,
You haven't
Donald,
done it.
and
You haven't
I
done
have
it.
been a
And excuse
Secretary
me,
of State, and I have
your
done
husband signed
a lot.
NAFTA, which was one of the worst things that ever happened
Well,
to the
that's your
manufacturing
opinion.
industry.
That is your
You go to
opinion.
New England, you go to Ohio, Pennsylvania, you go anywhere you want, Secretary Clinton, and you will see devastation.
So that's really good. That was really good stuff. And not only that, you could see in her eyes that she was starting to crack. You could see that she was going to do that thing that Trump gets people to do where they destroy themselves. I mean, she was right on the brink. She was right on the brink. And his best moment was when she said, when, they started to accuse him, both of them, because Lester Holt, the moderator, people have been complaining about him all day. Absolutely true. He was totally unfair. He asked Trump the tough questions. Fair enough. About, birtherism and his tax releases. He asked Hillary nothing about the emails, nothing about all these charges of corruption, all the scandal. None of it came up. He interrupted Trump again and again. Again, there was some justification for that because Trump was a little bit more out of control than she was. She was just biding her time. But Holt was unfair. But listen, that's the game. We all knew that was going to happen. We all knew that was going to be a problem. It's going to continue to be a problem. He's got to be able to play in that field. His best moment was when she said, Holt and she went after him for not releasing his tax returns. And he said, I'll release my tax returns when you release your emails. I think this is number 7, maybe? Yeah.
I will release my tax returns against my lawyer's wishes when she releases her 33,000 emails that have been deleted. As soon as she releases them, I will release my tax returns, and that's against my lawyers. They say don't do it. I will tell you this. No, in fact, watching shows, reading the papers, almost every lawyer says you don't release your returns until the audit's complete. When the audit's complete, I'll do it. But I would go against them if she releases her emails.
Now, that's what we came to see. That is what we came to see. And did he do no prep? Did he have nothing in his mind? We came to hear about the emails. We came to hear about how, every time she attacked him on his business, he should have struck back. How did she get to be a multi-millionaire? How did that happen? Pay for play, the Libya disaster, Benghazi. We never heard the word Benghazi last night. Not one time did we hear it. Every single time. And I will get back to that in a minute. I will get back to why that happened, because that's the neurosis part. But let's just talk about now the middle part of the debate, which I thought kind of went back and forth. Some people said that Hillary won the last hour. Some people said she won the middle part. I didn't think so. I thought the middle part was back and forth. And interestingly, by the way, this is just offhanded. I went over the transcript today pretty closely, and Trump did a lot better in the transcript than he did on stage, which isn't going to count for anything because there's one person in America who's going to read the transcript. That's me. That was it. Okay. But here was the stuff that I thought went back and forth. Here was Hillary. They asked him about race, all the race riots. There's all this stuff going on in the country. And Hillary went on to talk about the problems with race. This is cut 10, I think.
Race remains a significant challenge in our country. Unfortunately, race still determines too much, often determines where people live, determines what kind of education in their public schools they can get. And yes, it determines how they're treated in the criminal justice system. We've just seen those 2 tragic examples in both Tulsa and Charlotte. And we've got to do several things at the same time. We have to restore trust between communities and the police. We have to work to make sure that our police are using the best training, the best techniques, that they're well prepared to use force only when necessary. Everyone should be respected by the law, and everyone should respect the law.
Welcome back for Final Thoughts. It's debate night, so let's get serious. Time for some major soul searching here, folks. Look at our cities. They are burning. They are literally burning. Charlotte looks more like the West Bank than North Carolina. It's just the latest place to go through this. Now they tell us it's a protest, clashes between police and demonstrators. Watch carefully, because the only things demonstrated here are thuggery, lawlessness, and the victim mentality on full blast.
I came out here to support, and they arrested me.
In all, 44 people were arrested. Businesses looted, cars smashed, tear gas deployed by police, and our Ed Lavendera attacked by a protester during a live report.
Someone taking out their frustrations on me.
Yeah, that's what it looks like when lawlessness is glorified. That's what it looks like when George Soros pumps $33 million plus into the Black Lives Matter More movement. Yeah, that whole Kaepernick thing is mighty suspicious to me. How is it thousands of college kids were able to get their hands on brand new $100 Kaepernick jerseys in a matter of a couple weeks? There's big money behind this thing. The movement, I bet anything on it. Chaos and division ushers in the nanny state every damn time. That's what it looks like when the best thing Hillary's got is to call Trump a racist and throw law enforcement under the bus. Tonight is crucial. This election is crucial. Not just for white voters, but for black voters too. What is Trump going to do? Well, he's not going to pat you on the back and tell you setting fires and looting is your birthright. I'll tell you that much. Seriously, these are your communities too. Why are you setting them on fire? Does that make you feel better? The absence of leadership creates this kind of crap, and we've had a seismic lapse of leadership for almost 8 years now. The community organizer from Chicago couldn't make things better. He made it worse. Cities weren't burning 8 years ago, just saying. Hillary isn't going to change that. She's Obama, just whiter, older, and more controlling. To all these folks so angry with government and administration, so angry you're willing to literally set it on fire, why are you voting for the party that's whole mission is to make government bigger and give it more power? Do you realize how backwards your logic is? Enough. Get up, get dressed, get a job, make something of yourself. The world owes you nothing. You, by virtue of being born, do not get a trophy and a pass to act like a lawless thug. Your skin color does not give you that pass. Your neighborhood does not give you that pass. Your dedication to the bully Black Lives Matter movement does not give you that pass. There are hardworking Americans of every color who built the cities you're setting on fire. The only thing that should be spontaneously combusting in America is Hillary's pantsuit. Liar, liar, pantsuit on fire. Those are my final thoughts. Happy debate night. Make America great again. From Dallas, good night and take care.
Thanks to all of the pyrotechnics at the first presidential debate on Monday night, and thanks to Donald Trump's Chernobyl-style meltdown over his IRS records and his business history, his Iraq war position, and the fact that he acted like basically a general baboon, it was easy to overlook the insane proposals put forward by Hillary Clinton. We shouldn't. Hillary openly advocated some of the most radical propositions in American history. Here are 6 of them. First, profit sharing. Hillary advocated, quote, making the economy fairer. In promoting that stupid notion, it's stupid because mutually consensual exchange is by nature fair from any objective point of view. She pushed raising the national minimum wage, which would throw thousands of people out of work, and equal pay for women's work, which means unequal pay for the same work for men. But her truly insane line came next. She said, quote, I also want to see more companies do profit sharing. If you help create the profits, you should be able to share in them, not just the executives at the top. Now, many companies already have so-called profit sharing, like owning stock benefits. On a broad level, all companies have profit sharing. You have continued employment because your company earns a profit. You don't have a share of every dollar of profit because you presumably don't get dinged for every loss. But Hillary seems to be advocating a full-scale government intervention into every business in America, letting the federal government decide how much employees should make in every industry. This, as my friend Dennis Prager pointed out today, is economic fascism. Second, clean energy. Hillary proposed we would have 10 million new jobs through government investment. This is bullcrap. Obama made the same sort of claims about his green jobs program, and then later he had to admit his administration couldn't even define what the hell a green job was. When Hillary says we must deploy 500 million more solar panels, she's operating in a Star Trek fantasy universe where carbon-based fuels are less efficient than solar power. Trump rightly pointed this out. Third, Hillary said basically everybody's racist. She pushed the notion of implicit bias. This is a new psychological buzzword pushed by the academic left, saying that you're unconsciously biased, even if you don't know it, to explain why black people go to prison disproportionately. She then suggested that everyone in America was racist. Quote, I think implicit bias is a problem for everyone, not just police. But when it comes to policing, since it can have literally fatal consequences, I have said in my first budget, we would put money into that budget to help us deal with implicit bias by retraining a lot of our police officers. Unquote. There are 0 proven retraining programs regarding implicit bias, or even well-regarded studies suggesting the consistent impact of implicit bias on behavior, which is why no court in America will allow, quote-unquote, evidence of implicit bias. If everybody's a racist, there's no cure for racism, and that's a constant excuse for Democrats to claim America is evil. Fourth, Hillary said we should let all the criminals out. She said criminals should be let out of prison, and she said she wanted to end private prisons, presumably without building new ones. She idiotically said private prisons create a structure where you have, quote, a profit motivation to fill prison cells with young Americans. Well, since the owners of private prisons don't do the policing, this makes no sense. Fifth, Hillary said the Iran deal was awesome. She kept praising it over and over and over and over. It's a garbage deal. Hillary knows it. She claimed it put a lid on the Iranian nuclear program. That's a lie. She claimed it contained Iran itself. That's a lie. She said it would have led to war if America blew an Iranian ship attempting to capture Americans out of the water. That's a lie, too. Hillary pushed it forward anyway. Finally, Hillary dropped a line that most people missed when she was slamming Trump for sexism. She said, this is a man who has said women don't deserve equal pay unless they do as good a job as men. Why is that controversial? Should women make the same amount of money for less work? Hillary is a far leftist. Trump's inadequacies and stupidities don't change that fact, of course. Her radicalism is certainly a true threat to the country. Okay, so yesterday was debate day. And boy, oh boy, I was this close to hanging myself about 56 minutes in. But luckily for you, I watched the whole terrible thing. And all I have to say is, what the hell did you people do? What grave sins have you committed in secret that God decided to revenge himself on the nation thusly? Why in the world would you on the Democrat side and you on the Republican side of the aisle decide to nominate two monkeys to engage in the proposition who could screw the basketball hardest? Because that's pretty much what it was last night. Alrighty, so the debate. Yes, it happened last night. It took place. And that's just more evidence that, you know, as Benjamin Franklin supposedly once said that beer is evidence that God loves us. This debate is evidence that God has abandoned the earth and has decided to take his talents to Miami. So in any case, let's jump right. So the first half hour, here's the overview. The first half, first of all, we'll play the good Trump, bad Trump theme. This was epic good Trump, bad Trump. This was the ultimate episode of good Trump, bad Trump. Thank you to Brandon Snipes for our theme song.
Good Trump, bad Trump, which one will we get today?
Alrighty, so there was plenty. Okay, so first half hour. I thought watching the first half hour, Donald Trump's going to be the president of the United States. That's what I thought. Donald Trump was taking it to her on every field imaginable, and then the wheels fell off. Now, before we get into anything else, I'll give my quick overview, the debate grades. I thought Trump was an A for the first, he was an A, strong A for the first 30 minutes, and then he was not just an F, he was a Z for most of the rest of the time. Hillary Clinton always varies between a B and a C, not in terms of how corrupt and evil and how much of a liar she is. She's all of those things, but just in terms of performance. Lester Holt, by the way, I thought was absolutely biased against Trump. I think all the complaints about Lester Holt being biased were absolutely justified last night. The questions that he asked were significantly harder for Trump than they were for Hillary Clinton. He fact-checked Trump wrongly at least twice, as far as I'm aware, and so that was really bad. But this one's on Trump. Because first half hour he's in full control. So we'll play it right from the beginning. You're going to get the most comprehensive coverage of this debate of anybody out there today. And if we have to cut off in the middle because you only see the first 15 minutes on Facebook, this is why you need to subscribe at dailywire.com for $8 a month, and you get a free copy of Klavan's book. But in any case, let's jump in. So we start off the debate. Hillary walks on stage wearing Chairman Mao's favorite costume, and then Donald Trump walks out and he's wearing a blue tie, and Hillary Clinton leads off with this statement. This is her statement for why she wants to be president of the United States.
I want us to invest in you. I want us to invest in your future. That means jobs in infrastructure, in advanced manufacturing, in innovation and technology, clean renewable energy, and small business, because most of the new jobs will come from small business. We also have to make the economy fairer. That starts with raising the national minimum wage and also guarantee, finally, equal pay for women's work.
Okay. So this is okay. So she dropped out. She dropped her normal line. It's super boring. Here's a bunch of government programs I'm going to pay for, but really you're going to pay for them. And also, I'm a woman. Yay, vaginas. So that was her lead off. And then Donald Trump started, and Donald Trump's opener was a lot stronger than Hillary Clinton's opener because he told a story. Now, the story he's about to tell is a bunch of crap, but that doesn't matter. It's a story, and it's an effective story for what it's worth. Here is Donald Trump's story about what he thinks is the big problem with the country right now.
Our jobs are fleeing the country. They're going to Mexico. They're going to many other countries. You look at what China is doing to our country in terms of making our product. They're devaluing their currency, and there's nobody in our government to fight them. And we have a very good fight, and we have a winning fight, because they're using our country as a piggy bank to rebuild China. And many other countries are doing the same thing.
So his idea is that you are being screwed. And this is a more compelling message than Hillary, here's my latest program. So you are being... Now, here's the problem. The first half hour, Trump, as I say, he did a good job in this debate. He's lying. None of this is true, okay? The idea that there's one point where he actually called Mexico the eighth wonder of the world. Like their industry was the eighth wonder of the world. Like they're building factories that were the eighth wonder of the world. If it's so great, why is he so worried about Mexicans fleeing across the border, which is why we need the wall, presumably? Right? Why would they be fleeing from the eighth wonder of the world land to this crap hole we call America if they're really destroying us on jobs? If China's schlonging us on the currency, then why is it that China has had 2 separate major stock market crashes in the last 12 months? So all of it's not true, but it's more of a compelling narrative. And Hillary, so this is a compelling, and then Hillary comes back, and Hillary is just a giant pile of boredom in a red suit. Now, I will say this. Her energy level was much better last night. She didn't look like a walking corpse, which was one of the things that she had to do. Her entire goal last night was don't look like a walking corpse and trigger Donald Trump, get Donald Trump to melt down. She accomplished both of those goals. Here's Hillary talking about Donald Trump's economic plans. The problem for Hillary is, of course, that she is a programmed robot, and thus this was awful. Here's the worst of Hillary last night.
I call it trumped up trickle down, because that's exactly what it would be. That is not how we grow the economy.
Trumped up trickle down. Okay, so her program, I mean, like, goodness gracious. If that's your big line, trumped up trickle down, you royally suck at this. Wow, really bad. And then she follows that up with, I think we come at the economy from different perspectives.
I think we come at it from somewhat different perspectives. I understand that. You know, Donald was very fortunate in his life, and that's all to his benefit. He started his business with $14 million borrowed from his father, and he really believes that the more you help wealthy people, the better off we'll be, and that everything will work out from there. I don't buy that. I have a different experience. My father was a small businessman. He worked really hard. He printed drapery fabrics on long tables where he pulled out those fabrics and he went down with a silk screen and dumped the paint in and took the squeegee and kept going.
Okay. But in all fairness to Secretary Clinton, when she started talking about this, it was really very recently. She's been doing this for 30 years. And why hasn't she made the agreements better? The NAFTA agreement is defective just because of the tax and many other reasons, but just because of the fact.
Let me interrupt you a moment.
Secretary Clinton and others, politicians, should have been doing this for years, not right now because of the fact that we've created a movement. They should have been doing this for years. What's happened to our jobs and our country and our economy generally is, look, we owe $20 trillion.
Okay. So Hillary hits him with this, I grew up a poor black child in Alabama, and she hits Trump with, and you grew up really rich. And that's her first attempt to sort of jar him. It's her attempt to push him into defensiveness, and he ignores it, which is what he should do. And instead, he hits back with, you've been here for 30 years, and all of this sucks, and it's all your fault because all of it sucks. And Hillary has no comeback for that. Her only comeback for that is, no, everything is great. Here's Hillary saying, well, you know, everything really is awesome thanks to President Obama and me.
Let's stop for a second and remember where we were 8 years ago. We had the worst financial crisis, the Great Recession, the worst since the 1930s. That was in large part because of tax policies that slashed taxes on the wealthy, failed to invest in the middle class, took their eyes off of Wall Street, and created a perfect storm.
Okay, and so Her response is typical nothingness, and he kills her on it. She says that she wants to invest in green energy, and he kicks her right in the giant posterior.
She talks about solar panels. We invested in a solar company, our country. That was a disaster. They lost plenty of money on that one. Now, look, I'm a great believer in all forms of energy, but we're putting a lot of people out of work. Our energy policies are a disaster. Our country is losing so much in terms of energy, in terms of paying off our debt. You can't do what you're looking to do with $20 trillion in debt. The Obama administration, from the time they've come in, is over 230 years worth of debt, and he's topped it.
And he's killing her. Right? I mean, he's destroying her on this. She's trotting out the same old Obama talking points, and he's saying, you've made things bad. And most Americans believe the country's moving in the wrong direction, and she's got nothing on this. I mean, he's crushing her. Watch this next exchange. Again, he crushes her on this.
Well, actually,
I will bring back jobs. You can't bring back jobs.
Well, actually, I have thought about this quite a bit.
Yeah, for 30 years.
I have, well, not quite that long. I think my husband did a pretty good job in the 1990s. I think a lot about what worked and how we can make it work again.
Well, he approved
3 million
NAFTA.
New jobs,
He approved
a balanced
NAFTA,
budget,
which is the single worst trade deal ever approved in this country.
Incomes went up.
Okay, and so he hits her with the NAFTA deal. Now, he's factually wrong on NAFTA. NAFTA is not the single worst trade deal in the history of the country. NAFTA has generated millions and billions of dollars in profits for American companies. There are a lot of jobs that exist in the auto industry down south that would not exist if it were not for NAFTA. Doesn't matter. He hits her, and because she won't embrace NAFTA, because she won't embrace free trade, he gives her the runaround on it. And watch how she just falls apart over this. And she does. She falls apart. Here is Donald Trump hitting her again on NAFTA, and then she falls apart on NAFTA and the Trans-Pacific Partnership and her history on trade, because she's not honest enough to embrace free trade. So you have two candidates, both of whom are arguing against free trade, which means they're both factually wrong, but Trump actually believes this stuff, and Hillary's been in favor of free trade before, so he just kicks her around on it.
And I have
Your husband signed NAFTA, which was one of the worst things that ever happened to the manufacturing industry.
That is your opinion.
You go to New England, you go to Ohio, Pennsylvania, you go anywhere you want, Secretary Clinton, and you will see devastation where manufacturing is down 30, 40, sometimes 50%. NAFTA is the worst trade deal maybe ever signed anywhere, but certainly ever signed in this country. And now you want to approve Trans-Pacific Partnership. You were totally in favor of it. Then you heard what I was saying, how bad it is, and you said, I can't win that debate. But you know that if you did win, you would approve that, and that will be almost as bad as NAFTA. Nothing will ever top NAFTA.
That is just not accurate. I was against it once it was finally negotiated and the terms were laid out. I wrote about that in...
You called it the gold standard.
Well, I hope...
You called it the gold standard of trade deals. You said it's the finest deal you've ever seen.
No.
And then you heard what I said about it, and all of a sudden you were against it.
Well, Donald, I know you live in your own reality, but that is not the facts. The facts are, I did say, I hoped it would be.
We can stop it there. I mean, she falls apart. He's hitting her on this, and she absolutely falls apart. And it continues along these lines. She cites her website when she says that she wants to fight ISIS, and he knocks her on that.
You go to her website, and you take a look at her website. She's going to raise taxes $1.3 trillion. Mr. Trump, and look at her website. You know what? It's no different than this. She's telling us how to fight ISIS. Just go to her website. She tells you how to fight ISIS on her website. I don't think General Douglas MacArthur would like that too much.
Okay, and so again, it's not a wonderful answer. It's not really an explanation of why would MacArthur oppose it. I mean, no one really knows, but it's a good line. And then Trump hits her again. He hits her again on the economy, and Hillary goes right back to this trumped-up trickle-down routine. She's stuck on stupid. She's got the scratched record, and she can't get out of it. She's stuck now.
$5 trillion that we can't bring into our country, Lester, and with a little leadership, you'd get it in here very quickly, and it could be put to use on the inner cities and lots of other things, and it would be beautiful. But we have no leadership. And honestly, that starts with Secretary Clinton.
All right, you have 2 minutes on the same question to defend tax increases on the wealthiest Americans, Secretary Clinton.
I have a feeling that by the end of this evening, I'm going to be blamed for everything that's ever happened.
Why not?
Why not? Yeah, why not? As I said, trumped up, trickle down. Trickle down did not work. It got us into the mess we were in and 9.
Week T.
Slashing
So Trump's up,
taxes.
trickle down. By the way, when she plays the victim, you're blaming me for everything. He says, well, why not? Good question. You were there. Why shouldn't we blame you for these things? Like, why don't you make a case we shouldn't blame you for these things? So he's killing her. I mean, the first half hour, I'm thinking President Trump. I mean, really, like, he's going to win. He's going to walk away from this debate the big winner. And she's falling apart. She doesn't know what to do because she came out into this debate expecting that Trump was not going to be on attack, that Trump was going to be sitting back, that she'd be able to sort of prod him. And after she does this routine about Trump up, trickle down, he hits with his favorite line. He says she's a typical politician, and this is sort of the capstone. This is the high point of his presidential run. Right now, you're about to watch it. This is the high point of his presidential run.
Typical politician, all talk, no action, sounds good, doesn't work, never going to happen. Our country is suffering because people like Secretary Clinton have made such bad decisions in terms of our jobs and in terms of what's going on.